problems.
Questions and comments? The Honourable Member for St. Catharines.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank the Honourable Member for his speech. He talked about cannabis as an intoxicant, and he's correct, and he says it impairs, and he's right about that, and potentially has adverse impacts, and he's right about that. He also says innocent people will be killed, and that's his rationale for wanting to continue with prohibition. But under that criteria, Mr. Speaker, the same can be held true for alcohol, which the World Health Organization says is responsible for 6% of all deaths worldwide. And the Honourable Member can go to his local liquor store and legally purchase enough alcohol to kill himself, or a family member, or a kid who can get into the liquor cabinet. So why one set of rules for alcohol and another set of rules for cannabis when cannabis isn't a more dangerous drug than alcohol?
The Honourable Member for Battle River Crowfoot.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. And again, I would disagree respectfully, I think, with the member when he says that cannabis is no different than alcohol. That would assume that secondhand smoke is no problem at all with anything. If someone is having a drink in their home, the innocent child is a bystander who is just sitting around, is not inhaling, is not taking in any alcohol fumes that are going to. But let me defer to Washington State Marijuana Impact Report. In this report, they lay out very clearly the extra dangers of marijuana. They saw a spike in deaths on highways because of it. Again, our police associations, our chief of police associations here in Canada, opposing this, saying they're moving too quickly. And they hear the voices of those security, administrative police officers and others, but it seems they have a deaf ear to them. And so, Mr. Speaker, when we know that deaths on highways will be increased, we know we don't have proper way of really telling the level of intoxication that the person smoking a joint of marijuana has, unlike we have with alcohol. At best, what the government is saying is the police officer will have the ability to assess whether or not someone is high on marijuana. I wonder how that will hold up in court. How will that judgment call hold up in court? They're chuckling away over there again, as if it doesn't really matter, Mr. Speaker. These are the questions that we just need answered. And so again, they move closure. They say we're rushing this through. We're going to push it through regardless. That's a shame, Mr. Speaker. When we talk about mental brain development in our youth, when we talk about safety on the highways, when we talk about safety in the workplace, we're going into a free trade agreement now where the big problem Canada has is productivity and competitiveness with other countries. And we're bringing in something else that will lower our productivity and put us in an unfair place to attract business.
Questions and comments. Questions et commentaires. The Honourable Member for Winnipeg North.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Speaker, when I hear Conservative after Conservative stand up and they try to give the impression, this legislation is going to pass and then you're going to get all these Canadians smoking cannabis. And have I got news for the Conservative Party? They're actually smoking cannabis today. We have youth, the highest participation in youth smoking cannabis and marijuana in the Western world. This legislation is a step forward. The Conservative Party needs to realize that when they say, well, we're moving too quickly. Well, if we were going 20 years from now, they would still be saying we're moving too quickly, Mr. Speaker. We've seen that demonstrated by speech after speech by the former government that decided to take no action on this important social issue. My question to the member across the way, why doesn't the Conservative Party recognize the reality of the situation that we have and see the benefits of making or fighting criminals by taking the hundreds of millions of dollars away that criminals are getting every year from the illegal sale of cannabis? Why doesn't the Conservative want to deal with the issue of youth consuming cannabis today?
The Honourable Member for Battle River Crowfoot in 45 seconds.
Mr. Speaker, we're very concerned about the youth using cannabis today. But again, the Liberal answer is there are people that are using this evil already. And why aren't we concerned? They're just changing the definition of what is wrong or what is evil. They're trying to say, well, let's make it right, and then all these problems will go away. He asked the question, will the Conservatives in 20 years, would they say we should legalize it? Not if the proof is that it's not safe for our youth, we won't. Mr. Speaker, we won't legalize it if we don't have a way on the highways of determining whether someone is intoxicated or not, because we believe quite firmly in the protection of society as our guiding principle. And if someone on the highway is not protected because someone else is inebriated and the police can't really make that judgment call or that opinion, then you're right, Mr. Speaker, we should hold off. But their answer to all is rush ahead, let's do it now, and worry about everything else later, and that will get us into a big mess.
Resuming debate.